part of the bigger challenge that we find with unemployment is really about employability. So because when you juxtapose the fact that we've got high unemployment and you get immigration numbers as well of the number of expatriates or foreign skilled workers coming into the country, it's also high. So you wonder what kind of paradox is that?
But
so
then people will wonder, would you say that 6 billion naira on a monthly basis is money well spent when we could also be getting, say, the private sector involved to set up schemes where people would be able to register for these things, and perhaps government to run some other sort of, scheme to ensure that at least there is some continuity when, for instance, if government cannot continue?
Yeah, so the point is, first and foremost, the strategy under which this has been underpinned is actually a private sector coordinated, driven strategy. So with the job creation strategy document, for example, we actually are in very active partnership with the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. They have actually embedded this strategy within their working committee. So we are actually working with the private sector across board. Now, this is something that we needed to do. It's like you're in an emergency. So just look at the impact of what Empower has been to all the volunteers across the 774 local governments.
Impact. I think we will come to impact in just a moment, because people will ask, how much is an impact? How much of an impact really is it having when you're looking at just 500,000 of the millions of unemployed people?
But that's direct.
That question you answer that question in a moment. Shimicha, okay. I'm going to come to you now. Your agency is not concerned about just young people alone.
No.
You also look at women. You look at, I know that when your agency was created, they said it was very women friendly because they looked like the only people who were returning the monies that they were being given as loans. Is that still the case?
Yes, and you can see that the governor put a woman there again. And this is why everybody goes, my smart governor put a smart woman to run the smart agenda.
If you say so, now I've heard
I've
heard you tell the story of how you became a galvanizer from being a journalist. From your knowledge of how grinding poverty can be, especially in rural areas, would you say that government really understands the policy? Understands the problem, the enormity of the problem?
Government understands the enormity of the problem, but there's a part that people hardly look at, which is the people themselves. A lot of the poor people don't do things to help themselves because they feel the government is going to give them handouts. So the way we strategize now is you walk a step, we walk a step with you. So we want you to get your BVN. We'll come to your local government. You don't have to go to the bank. We've talked to all the banks. They go to them. But you have to come to the city square, wherever it is. You're going to do that registration, and it shows you are busy. You have to write your documents correctly or get your child or a neighbor or somebody from church to do that. Most of them start complaining, paper, paper, paper. Without that paper, you're not going to get anything. But now we've gotten a lot of people get their BVNs correctly. They now know how to go into the bank. They are not afraid of the police that stands outside the bank because they thought it was them they were going to get. So we had to do a lot of town hall meetings to educate the people about the fact that there's always been money in the system, because money is supposed to go out to portfolios, and the people are the portfolios, and there's a lot of money for microcredit. But the people usually don't understand how to get that. So the first thing you have to do is financial literacy training, which is something we do in my agency. It is not good to give anybody money if they don't understand money, because they'll be as poor as how they began.
It does. That situation you just raised also raises the question of awareness. The young people whom you're trying to reach out to, Afolabi, how aware would you say they are? I recall just yesterday I made a phone call. I know a cousin of mine has been looking for a job, and I just asked him, have you applied for Empower? And he says, what is Empower? And he's a graduate.
Yeah.
So how aware would you say young people are?
Well, Marco, how do you explain 2.5 million applications in 6 weeks? This was the same program last year where we ran it for 10 weeks. The portal opened June 12 last year, closed August 31st. We could only get 350,000 graduate applications. And it was from those 350,000 we deployed the 200,000 across Nigeria. So this time around, and she knows, this time around, in fact, in 4 weeks, because when it opened June 13, on July 13, when it should have closed, we had 2.2 applications already. But the acting president basically based on certain calls from certain quarters who wanted a bit of inclusion, because we're actually really ensuring this time around we want to get a lot more graduates in the rural areas to be enrolled into the program, so it's easier to deploy them back again to the rural areas. We extended by 2 weeks and then got additional 300,000 applications. So really that's the extent. That just tells you how aware. Now the issue many times was not even just about being aware, it's the believability of the program. You know, when we ran this program last year, you know, typically government, you know, credibility issue is just going to be people they know and all that. But you know, everyone was pleasantly surprised and shocked that there was no issue of nobody, no slot, nothing. It was clear case of people who needed the program, who got into the portal, and they were picked.
Some people will say that your job here is to convince me, that and convince the viewers that this program is working and it's, you know, going to be of impact to those who really need the jobs.
Yeah.
But, you know, some people will also still ask, when you're looking at 500,000 as your target, and you do know that there are millions unemployed, how much of an impact would you say your program has?
Now, so the 500,000 is a kickstart. First and foremost, this is the first time ever it's ever been done, not only in Nigeria, even Pan-Africa. You know, to have one engagement, you know, where you've taken over 500,000. It's the first time. And we've only been able to do that because of technology. It's technology that has really enabled this process. So, and that is the first. So the point is that if you're going into partnership with the private sector, like I said, you've got to be able to put your money where your mouth is. I mean, to show that, hey, this is what it is, then we can now continue to have a conversation. And if there's anything, the acting president himself said when he visited the Situation Room in Abuja on July 14, he said, listen, we would want, I mean, 2.5 million applications, you would want to get more, but you can't take all. And then the point is, really, let's see how we can also take on more incrementally. But then the real appeal is with our partners. So right now, beyond the 300,000 we pick, other government agencies are beginning to approach us. For example, the Federal Ministry of Finance approached us for the VADES program, where they use the same platform to get recruitment for those who are going to be the community tax liaison officers. We expect other government agencies as well. The Northeast people are talking to us now where with the rebuild program.
We have to take a moment, I'm afraid, sorry. Okay. But when we come back, we'll ask, how do federal government policies work in opposition states? That will be in a moment. Please stay with us.